Hi, everybody. I just want to talk to you for a minute. I think you may have gotten an email from me or seen on Facebook that I'm doing the BC Ride for Cancer, to conquer cancer. And I would love it if you would all donate. As you know, fighting cancer has been a passion for me for much of my life. And I'm going to include a few clips after this so you can see other projects I have done to raise money and awareness for cancer. Um, it's about 20 years since my last adventure, and I'm happy to say that since then there have been many, many different associations and organizations that are putting together small events in your neighborhoods to raise money, which is the most effective and most supportive to those fighting cancer. I will be riding from Vancouver, British Columbia to Seattle. And a big part of this fighting cancer is I don't want to point fingers at anybody, because I'd have to point fingers at myself for polluting the environment enough that our health is at risk. And the best we can do at this point is help pick up the pieces and take care of those who are getting the disease. And we probably all will fight it at some point in time. Um, some will win and some won't win. So if you could please dig deep into your pockets, it goes to the British Columbia Cancer Foundation, the money. And I don't particularly think it's that important that all the money goes, because it does cost to put on an event, and I don't think we need to worry about judging how much and who is getting what. It's just important that when we do something fun and that we love, that somehow we're able to give back. So thanks a lot, and at the end of the email, I will include the website, the direct link to my name on the BC Ride to Conquer Cancer. And I'll try not to bore you too much with some of my old footage. It's kind of fun because it's, it's me 20 years ago, and it really shows the passion that I really have for this, fighting this disease. Thanks.
Beth is paddling the Oakland estuary with an inspirational woman. Let's join her.
Breast cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer in the country, and it's the #1 health concern of women today. Because of this general knowledge and some very personal experiences, Leigh MOORHOUSE of Oakland, California is setting out on an adventure that she hopes will raise desperately needed money for cancer research and defense, and will also bring awareness to the issue at large. Expedition Live and Let Live is a two-part adventure. The first part will take place in the summer of 1996, when she'll travel from Key Largo, Florida to Eastport, Maine. This journey is approximately 2,100 miles. She's allowing 4 months for the trip, and she plans to travel that distance in a sea kayak. The second leg of her journey will take place in the summer of 1997, when she'll paddle along the west coast from British Columbia to Baja, California. Though friends and sponsors may join her for various legs of the trip, for the majority of the time, she'll be alone. And in doing so, she'll be the first woman to paddle solo up one coast and then down the other. The beneficiary of her impressive solo adventure is the Breast Cancer Fund, an organization that has recently risen in public awareness due to Expedition Inspiration. Though Leigh herself is not a sufferer of breast cancer, she has profound and very personal reasons for actively supporting research alternatives, recovery, and assistance.
The friend that I lost last July had come to me in a dream, and I had tried desperately after that dream to get a hold of her and couldn't, and a few days later she died. And at that point I was sitting at my kitchen table and I was overwhelmed with a sense of urgency to put what I had left and the strength that I had left, because I realized I was still healthy, into helping those that have the disease.
Battling breast cancer is making a muscular attack on the disease, traveling all the way to Maine by kayak. Eyewitness News reporter Natalie Sims caught up with Leigh Moorhouse today during her voyage. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Tim. Most of us probably don't think of ocean water as a battleground, but for one woman who's fed up with the fight against breast cancer, hitting the water is the only way she knows how to help keep death at bay. Promising. In Jensen Beach, another check awaits.
There we go. We made some money.
Every time her paddle hits water, Leigh Moorhouse believes she's made headway in a fight for life.
Life makes a stop on the Treasure Coast. She says a voice in a dream told her to make an amazing journey. News Channel 5's Len Turner has her story.
A California woman is taking her cause to the waterways. Leigh Moorhouse is kayaking from Florida to Maine to raise money for breast cancer research. I caught up with Moorhouse as she paddled into Boston yesterday.
Showing us what courage is all about.
That's right. Leigh Moorhouse is on a journey of hope. This weekend, she'll reach the coast of North Carolina on her 2,100-mile kayak trip up the eastern seaboard. Her goal is simple: to help stop a killer. Leigh's perseverance and passion make her extraordinary.
This is me. This is cancer.
A lone woman at sea, approaching Jacksonville, Florida. Her tiny kayak dwarfed by freighters, moving slowly up the east coast of the United States, stroked by shoulder-wrenching strokes.
This is about endurance, and I think it's an incredible metaphor for all those women fighting breast cancer.
Leigh Moorhouse doesn't have breast cancer, but after losing 2 friends to the disease and watching 2 more struggle through treatment, the 41-year-old decided to join the fight.
I realized that I could give something back by doing something I love.
Onshore, Senator Lois Pines, a champion of state-funded breast cancer research, presented a proclamation to her for her efforts.
Leigh is really an extraordinary lady. She's been able to prove that one person can make a difference. There is power in one.
I feel very fortunate I've been healthy. I'm a healthy person. I think I'm the one to be doing this, not wait till I'm sick or someone else close to me dies or goes into treatment. Now's the time. And every stroke along the way, she's received a tremendous amount of support. On the water, the Boston Sea Kayaking Club, the Boston Harbor Police, the State Police, and even a towing service escorted her in. Leigh began her trip at the southernmost point on the U.S. coast, traveled about 1,700 miles, making stops along the way to Boston, and will continue to Eastport, Maine, all to raise funds for breast cancer research.
Shortly after arriving, Leigh asked those who came to welcome her to join in a prayer to remember the victims of breast cancer. Leigh lost her grandmother and 2 friends to the illness. That's when she decided to take action.
After losing the second one, I don't know, something woke up in me and I stood up from the table and I realized how fortunate I was that I had my health and my life was so good, and I realized I could give something back doing something I loved.
Leigh says everyone in all communities can help in getting the message out.
This is Eastport. This is the community here, and it tells, I think, the rest of America and the world what's going on with our communities and the concern around breast cancer and cancer in general and our environment.
Leigh's father, William, says there's more to his daughter's trip than just fundraising.
it's not just the money alone. It's an attitude that she hopes to establish in all of us, a positive attitude about the disease and the fact that we can, each of us, do something about it.
So how did Leigh manage to keep going and going?
There's no rhyme or reason because there's acts of God, there's weather, there's so many different factors, there's exhaustion. So I pretty much stopped when I was exhausted. I didn't even wait till I was tired. I just kind of drove myself because I knew there would be an end.
Leigh's trip was slightly delayed when her kayak was reported stolen yesterday near Schoodic Harbor, but she didn't let that stop her.
Next, that's a minor detail. It's just part of the challenges. I've had paddles taken and, you know, bad weather and hurricanes and alligators, and you just keep going.
Dixie Thoralt, a victim of cancer, says Leigh's journey was an inspiration to her.
It makes me feel good to know that somebody's working for us. And it doesn't matter whether it's breast cancer or what kind of cancer, everybody needs some help.
This doesn't mark the end of Leigh's journey. She plans on making another trip next year from British Columbia, Canada to Baja, California. And she says until then, her efforts to increase awareness regarding breast cancer will continue. In Eastport, Keith Sterling, News Channel 7.
She's paddled the east coast of the U.S., and now she's preparing for the next challenge, the west coast. All of this for what, you may ask? To raise money to fight breast cancer.
Leigh Moorhouse is not your average kayak enthusiast. She recently returned from a 2,100-mile trip from Key Largo, Florida to Maine.
I thought about it for about a year before I decided to do it, to find out what the motivation is. Because if the motivation has anything to do with grandiosity or getting attention, I surely wasn't really going to make it because it's so ambitious.
Grandiosity is hardly her motivation. She paddled an average of 8 to 40 miles a day and through 3 hurricanes for something much more important, to raise awareness for women fighting breast cancer.
After 40 years, I felt like I had taken my whole life, and people had given me so much, and that it was time to give back. And I was especially moved by losing 2 friends to breast cancer. I lost my grandmother to cancer, and 3 are in treatment. And that number has quadrupled since I've been on my trip because I've met so many, many women fighting the disease.
How many hours a day, hours a week did you have to spend?
I first started out paddling approximately 7 to 10 miles every day. Then it was every other day, mixed with long-distance training on the weekends and races. I also mixed in rough water kayaking, like surfing.
Leigh prepared for her trip in San Francisco, where she lives, because she says the Bay Area has every kind of water condition and is perfect for training, even for a beginner like me.
1, 2, 3. That's a rudder. They slide. Great. That's it. You're in.
It's tricky going out in the water for the first time, but nothing like being the first woman to paddle up the entire East Coast.
What do you hope that you accomplished besides the physical marks that you made?
You know, again, it's, you know, I have to tell you, truthfully, what I realized is that doing a trip like this is I now have more of an understanding of other folks that do it, and now I know why not a whole lot of people take on these kind of expeditions and pushing themselves to the limits, because it's unbelievably hard.
Not unlike the battle with breast cancer.
The metaphor is very closely linked in the challenge, and somehow you want to find some peace in that challenge as well. And it means working out through a lot of your own personal garbage along the way.
She overcame many obstacles along the way, some she didn't expect.
Besides the challenging water and the weather that you ran into, what kind of surprised you? What happened during your trip that you didn't expect?
The biggest one was being chased by a 12-foot alligator. And there was no one around, and that really, really scared the dickens out of me. And that's when I found out that most of the gear and emergency signaling devices were useless because I had no time to get to them. I really was paddling as hard as I could to get away from that beast. And
not something you can plan for here in San Francisco.
Not at all. I wasn't prepared for anything like that.
I see a tiny speck way out there, which I believe is Leigh Moorhouse.
But when she reached the end of her 5-month-long trip, it was all worth it.
And a very, very touching thing happened, and that was the Passamaquoddy Indian tribe came, and the drummers, the women drummers in the tribe came out to welcome me. And that's the first time that they have ever come into town to support anything going on in town and anything that any white person was doing. And then to hear the drums was very moving because it reminded me of a pace that I had become accustomed to, my own inner pace. That was the only way I could do 2,100 miles, is to listen to myself. And in this society, that's next to impossible to go. There's too many factors, there's too many people, there's too many other things.
Was it worth it?
Very much so. There wasn't a day I doubted myself or that I didn't want to get on the water. The more people I came in contact with, the more rewarding it was.
2,100 miles. Ouch. That's an admirable woman. I don't think she'll be running into any alligators on the Pacific Coast Lake. Maybe an orca or two. Well, that's all we have for this time. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time on Western Kayaker. Beth is paddling the Oakland estuary with an inspirational woman.